my other favorite Italian genre filmmakers, Fernando De Leo.
Of the Lion.
Yes, the Lion of the Lion.
The Lion roars.
Absolutely. De Leo, like my son,
Yeah.
De Leo.
Yeah.
All right. And in this instance, while you'd heard the name Corbucci and you'd seen Django, you'd seen the two of his most famous ones, Django and El Grande Silencio. In this instance, you weren't familiar with Fernando De Leo at all. And
no, not at all.
And so I explained to you who he was, and we watched his film, Mr. Scarface. It's known under a lot of titles. The title that is
There's
most
like 20 titles. This movie.
The title that it's most known as, for the most part, at least in America, is Mr. Scarface. It was its kind of original title is Rulers of the City, and there's even some videos out there and DVDs out there that have it under that title. It's also known as The Big Boss, not to be confused with the Bruce Lee film. And under just like basically whatever title they wanted to put on it. All right. That, had some mafia chieftain idea. And it stars Jack Palance, and we're in a big Jack Palance booth watching as many of those as we can. But the thing about Mr. Scarface is it falls under a window of movies that De Leo did in the 70s. And he did a lot of crime films, but it's considered that he had a quartet of mafia movies. His film, The Boss, also known in America as Wipeout, which stars Henry Silva. Then there's his other most, along with Mr. Scarface, his other most like played out movie was originally released in America as The Italian Connection. It's also been known on video as Hitman, Hired to Kill. I mean, it has a zillion different titles. And that's with Henry Silva and Woody Strode and Mario Dorf. Then there's his film Calibre 9, basically caliber 9mm.
Yeah, 9mm.
Which stars Barbara Boucher and Gaston Mochin and Mario Dorf. And then there's Mr. Scarface, or Rulers of the City. Mr. Scarface is decidedly my least favorite of the quartet, even though I like it. So that's not one that I would go back to watch as often as I would like The Italian Connection or The Boss, or that wouldn't even be the one that I would choose to watch with you to introduce you to it. But because of the Jack Palance thing, I did. And because I hadn't seen it in a long time, I'd actually had forgotten how the whole second half of the movie plays out. And I loved it. I had a great time. I still think the opening 20 minutes is kind of dodgy a little bit with those young guys driving around in their dune buggy, even though I kind of like the dune buggy. But it's not the mafia thing that I want, but it gets there. That last 20 minutes is I couldn't believe how much fun we were having in the last 20 minutes of that movie.
So this movie starts off and you're trying to understand the world you're in. Like, I know that this is Italy and I know that this is a crime film and I know this guy's a collector and everything, but there was a kind of almost goofy quality to Harry Bear's performance.
Yeah, no. There's a goofy quality to it that is in line with the stupid action comedies that Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer do, where they just get into one crazy, ridiculous, some weird version of Italian martial arts kind of fighting. All right. And then
he was doing parkour or something before there was such a thing.
Yeah. And all that, all the fight scenes are like elaborate and strange and ridiculous.
I mean, not to just jump right in, but there's a moment in the movie where I'm trying to remember his name. It's a Vittorio Caprillo.
Oh, yeah.
Caprioli,
that guy,
the guy from Cafe Express.
Yeah.
There's a moment where he's got a little handgun and they're in this kind of very brutalist, old, condemned slaughterhouse. Mm-hmm. And he's in this big room that has these three big doors, one on each wall. And he's trying to shoot this guy as the guy's running around the building.
Yeah.
And he doesn't hit him at all, like at each time. But it is so funny to me, that shot, it's one shot, just he shoots at this door. He turns and he aims. He waits till the guy runs by. He shoots at that guy. The guy didn't get him. He turns to this door. He waits, and the guy runs by and he shoots, and he misses him again. It's just like...
But that was actually funny. The opening 20 minutes isn't that funny. That was actually funny. You laughed your ass off at that part.
Was laughing my ass off at a lot of those kind of situations. I wasn't laughing my ass off so much at the kind of Harry Bear's sort of circus clown dancing around fighting style. And so I was like trying to at first find myself into the movie because at first, you start going into the movie and it's hard. It's a real, you're set in a kind of real world. Mm-hmm. And then like Corbucci, there's this kind of weird inversion to the movie where I started feeling for Jack Palance's character in a weird way.
Yeah, me too. Let me read the back of the box. I'm just going to cut out the first line. Tony, a former boxer, now cinema collector, that'd be Harry Bear, they set out to con the mob after they are cheated of large sums of money and commissions. Using themselves as bait and hitting at a big drug deal, they lure Scarface, Jack Palance, and his henchmen to a slaughterhouse. Oh, they just go right to the end. Here, the gears of justice and revenge are set in motion when a blazing gun battle erupts in an all caps violent climax. Okay, and that's true about that last part.
I mean, that violent climax to me was like all the shots from all the William Friedkin films put together in one sequence. You know, the running shots, the close-ups of guys running, the way the cars are driving. It was feeling like a Friedkin film.
Oh, well, there's that one chase through the streets of Rome.
Yeah.
All right. That looks exactly like a William Friedkin foot chase, except not done in long lens, done actually like a guy either on a dolly or running with a camera on his shoulder.
On the back of a motorcycle or something.
On the back of a motorcycle is just following them in a head and shoulders close-up as they book.
Yeah, as they run as fast as they freaking can.
Through the streets of Rome, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So Franklin Browner has to say, Spaghetti Crime is looking a lot like William Friedkin in 1976's Mr. Scarface, a slightly goofy, hard-boiled revengissimo with minimally scarred Jack Palance smoking his way through blocks of dialogue as brutalist as the slaughterhouse location that makes up the action spectacular finale. Fassbinder regular, German actor Harry Bear pops around fistfights like a circus performer, collecting for the mob, while Al Cliver resembles a surfer from Endless Summer. At first, one thinks it might be a bad acting choice, that he might really be a surfer that they've hired to act. But the reveal to his emotionless delivery and methodical movements are enough to make one regret stereotyping him. He's excellent and cold and fully believable. Is the film itself believable? Not really, but it's playful enough to wish for a sequel set in Rio de Janeiro. Which is kind of how I felt. I mean, as you one of the dreams of Harry Bear's character in this movie is that he dreams of going to Rio de Janeiro and living where his supposedly rich brother has a great place. And
now, also, it must be noted, as Roger's mentioned on this show before, for a period of his childhood, he grew up in Brazil.
Yeah.
And
in
so
Aracaju, Brazil, which is north of Recife.
So we're watching the movie, and Harry Bear, for the whole first 40 minutes of the movie, he wears a t-shirt that says Brazil on it.
And spelled correctly, Brazil, with an S, not a Z.
But it just so happens that Roger was wearing a Brazil shirt that day he came over to watch the movie.
Yeah, and I've decided to wear it today well because...
He's wearing the shirt today. And so we're watching the movie in the first 20 minutes. I go, is he wearing a Brazil shirt like you? And he goes, yes, he is. yes, he is. And it's spelled the right way, too. There's no fucking Z in that shit.
None of this colonial Z. None of that shit. So, yeah, I mean, I went to school in Brazil, and my father still lives there, and my grandparents lived there. My grandfather was a Pan Am pilot. And so my family has like a big history with Brazil. Mm-hmm. The whole thing is his dream is to go to Rio.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad dream to have if you're in Italy.
Yeah, right on.
Like Brazil, it's the place that you can go to cheaply with a visa from there at that time. Mm-hmm. That is the magical place to go to if you're running away from, reconstructed Europe.
I'm going to describe the plot as quickly as I can, but it's a pretty simple plot.
Well, actually, who published this box?
Okay, this is
because this is like one of the weirdest looking, most garish boxes.
I like this box.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't like it. Okay, I like garish, but it is definitely somebody's art project because they went for it.
Well, it was released on video in 1987, and it's from
Mark V.
And they also have they also released The Italian Connection under the title Hired to Kill, and they actually have the original artwork on that. And just on account of because I have the painting that the poster is
actual painted.
The actual painting that
art for the art.
The art for
the poster.
The painting that they use for the poster. Yeah.
Wow.
I have that on 3 films. I have the original painting of Coffee. I have the original painting of Bucktown, and I have the original painting of Italian Connection.
Do things like that come up often? Like, and where does one find
I don't even
original art like that?
Yeah, it just pops up.
Yeah,
it just pops up from time to time. So Mr. Scarface, in it, Harry Bear plays an ex-boxer who is a collector for the mob. He's a young kid, drives around Rome in a red dune buggy. Looks like the Wonder Bug from the 70s cartoon
with like
show.
A big STP #1.
Yeah,
like on it.
It's totally an STP #1.
Like, that's a choice.
The fact that the heroes of the film are driving around in a dune buggy is actually kind of funny. All right, it's kind of good. That is one of the weird things where the comedy actually works. There's a couple different gangs in Rome, and one of the gangs, the main gang, is run by Scarface, played by Jack Palance. But the rival gang is a guy named Luigi, who's played by the star of the movie The Egyptian, Edmund Perdue.
Yeah.
And he's more of a low-level loan shark.
Yeah, he's not really a vicious guy.
No, he's actually kind of a cool guy, actually. Yeah,
he's running a semi-legit. He doesn't murder people necessarily. He might muscle people.
No, yeah, he's a loan shark and everything. But like, yeah, you don't like the other people around him, but you actually you expect Luigi to be this hard-ass crime boss, and you actually start liking him as time goes on. And then when he finally has his final comeuppance, you kind of feel sorry for him. All right.
I found that to be true among all of the villains, quote unquote, in the movie.
And so what ends up happening, not only does Luigi, Edmund Perdue, have a loan shark operation going on, he also has a casino. And then at some point, because one of his gang members got fleeced at
like
the
an
casino.
Underground casino, like
an underground casino.
Yeah, like in The Sting.
Mm-hmm. Jack Palance's Scarface shows up to play some roulette. And while he's playing the roulette, so he loses and whatever. Okay, that's fine. Hey, would it be okay if I cash a $3,000 check? What the fuck are they going to tell Scarface? No.
Yeah.
So
it was like I think a 3 million lira.
3 million lira check.
Yeah.
Okay. So he cashes the check, knowing that nobody's ever gonna that this check is gonna bounce, and who the fuck is going to say anything to Scarface about it? So Luigi's freaking out about, I've just lost 3 million lira. And then Harry Bear, who's the collector, goes, I'll collect on the check. I get 10%, right? I'll collect on the check. So the way he collects on the check is he comes up with a con game that fools Jack Palance's character into paying the 3 million lira. So he delivers the check, but Luigi's like, what the fuck have you done? Now I'm going to have Scarface is going to demand this money back, or he's going to kill us all. Which is exactly what ends up happening.
Yeah, and they kind of sent him off to collect the money. Like, they don't think they're going to be able to.
Yeah,
like, there's no way. He's going to kill whoever comes.
So literally,
how could it happen? And that Enzo guy, the other collections guy, he wants him to go do it. Like, go ahead, let him do it. Let him hang himself with his own rope.
Yeah.
And so he goes off, and then he does this big scam on Jack Palance. It's like, holy fuck, you got the money? Oh, no, that's a bigger problem
It's a bigger problem now. And so he's joined by his partner, Harry Bear's joined by his partner, Al Cliver. And they who's
like kind of a blonde, he looks like an American, is he?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure what nationality Al Cliver is. He looks like
he's like a surfer.
Yeah,
and he's wearing also a funny shirt.
Yeah, he looks like a young Nick Nolte. He looks like a
totally.
Yeah, he looks like he should be playing Nick Nolte's son in Rich Man Poor Man.
Yeah, totally.
So by Harry Bear doing this con on Scarface, he starts a bloody gang war that ends up wiping out all of Luigi's entire family.
Yeah.
And then Al Cliver and Harry Bear kind of do what Parker does in The Outfit, what Joe Don Baker's Cody.
That's exactly what he does.
And Robert Duvall's Parker do. We can wait for these guys to kill us, or we could just attack them, all right, and just rob them again and again and again and again and again. And again, the mob, who's not used to being treated this way, is being driven through frustration. And that's the story.
Yeah, and they lure them into this giant slaughterhouse, which is apparently kind of a walled, closed area, so they can kind of...
It looks like a housing project.
Yeah, and because they know it so well, they're able to kind of run around it and make mincemeat out of the mob.
Now, one of the things I don't like is Harry Bear has these stupid Terrence Hill, Bud Spencer kind of fights that he does throughout the whole film that he wins Always. And it's always inexplicable that he wins.
Well, he's supposed to be like, I think, a Lightfoot boxer, good at dancing, good at dancing around. But the way he does it is more like a gymnast.
Yeah.
Like
he does seem.
Jim Cotta.
Well, look, it does seem like Jim Cotta, yeah. But it does seem like, you have to get that reference. We're not going to even explain it. You either get it or you don't. You either get it or. Whew. All right. The Blue Angels are flying over your head. What's interesting about it is, like a lot of actors who star in Italian films, he actually is pretty physically adept, like as if he had some training of some sort of gymnast or some training of some sort of acrobat aspect, because I don't buy his fighting, but the way he climbs up fucking poles and is on top of roofs and then slides down a pole to do something and you see it all in one shot. I mean, some of the physical stuff he does in the movie is very, very impressive.
Oh, you see our lead actor, like at that slaughterhouse in the end, he's on top of a building and he's kind of jumping down the building and then sliding down a pole and then going down to some bars. What's his name? Vittorio Caprioli. At one point they have him hiding in some kind of ledge that's really high and then he's got to get down and run. So he jumps down. Okay, so the actor jumps down and he clearly falls and like twists an ankle or he lands on his ass. And he gets up and he's walking away and you can see him limping and he's grabbing his butt and you realize
he busted his tailbone.
Vittorio just fell on his ass after that thing.
He didn't break it, but
there's no stuntmen in this movie. You're doing your own stuff.
Well, there's a lot of stuntmen in the movie. They're just the guys that are getting beat up.
They're also the actors.
But the thing that's like annoying about Harry Bear, and I actually kind of like him in the movie, except for the fight scenes, is they do this thing that I don't like, where it's just like he wins every fight easily, where it's like, I mean, he's obviously fighting guys who would beat the fuck out of him in real life.
And he's mocking them like Robin Hood or something.
He talks shit like he's Spider-Man in the comic books.
Yeah, exactly. Spider-Man. It's a much better.
The way Spider-Man
reference.
talks shit in the comic books during his entire ass kicking. Okay, that's what Howard Barry.
Whoa, buddy, that was a little close for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like as the guy's trying to stab him.
Yeah, you're trying to kill me, and I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Let me show you this. But the worst part is he's supposed to be a boxer, and when he actually has like the fighting boxing match, sort of, with the other collector,
Enzo Pulcrano.
Yeah, when he has that fight, his defense stance is so ridiculously weak.
It's like fisticuffs in like the 1800s.
It's less than that, all right? It's like the wimpiest Poindexter is forced to be in a fight in school, and that's how he holds up his fist. I mean, you can't even believe it's not meant as a joke.
Yeah.
Because it's just so unimpressive.
And especially that Enzo guy, the other collector.
Yeah.
He's like a tough guy. He's like a beefcake. He's like a beefcake.
He looks like he actually was a boxer who went into acting.
Yeah.
So I was actually embarrassed for him. I will say this. There's an interesting twist of story in the movie that it's almost remarkable that the reveal is revealed as late in the movie as it is, but it actually is effective. And it works really, and I can't say anything more without giving it away, But there's a turn in the story that makes the entire movie snap into focus, and it violently snaps into focus. You really understand the movie in a special way.
Like you had seen this movie before, but I hadn't seen it, and so even after it was kind of revealed, it completely took me. And I had...
No, you actually said it out loud. Oh my God.
Yeah, I had an oh my God moment in this. Like, there's a kind of sleight of hand that's going on with Fernando de Leo, who, with how he's guiding how you view this world and how seriously you take the world. And there's a kind of contrast between the events that happen, which are hard-boiled events.
Yes, very much so.
I mean, these are like Italian mafia situations.
Yeah, oddly enough, it's funny. As goofy as the heroes can be, the bad guys, Jack Palance and his team, are never played goofy.
Oh,
they're,
Yeah, Carmelo Real, or he's credited as Roberto Real, the Luca guy, who is Jack Palance's second.
Second. Who I love.
That guy was great.
Yeah. And he's a De Leo regular.
Yeah, that guy.
Like most of these people are De Leo
That guy, like you feel there's a lot more going on because he has this kind of concerned quality. Like he's the guy who's actually dealing with all the shit that's going down on behalf of Jack Palance. He's the facilitator.
And he looks like a mafia guy.
That's just
he
it.
looks
like a mafia
and I mean
guy.
An Italian mafia guy, not some Italian American shit. I mean, he looks like an Italian Rome fucking mafia dude.
He really does, with that pencil mustache that he's got, that pencil thin mustache.
And it was insulting when Harry Bear beat him up. It was insulting. He would have fucked that guy up.
You know, and the reality of this world is it's a little wonky. It's a little goofy. It's a little, hey, paisano. It's you know, there's a lot of, especially out of the Vittorio Caprioli character.
Like, I'm hot and cold on him, and he's in every fucking Delirium.
No, I know.
He's in every single one of them. And he plays the same guy pretty much in every single one of them.
Yeah.
And he has his own...
Yeah, hey. As goofy as that is, he makes it pleasurable to watch. When he goes there and he makes that telephone call to Jack Palance, and I started feeling bad for Jack Palance because they're fucking with him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and Luca, his guy, comes down, and Vittorio's on the phone and he's talking to Jack Palance. He's like, here's your guy now, and he's watching him go to his car. Hey, he's looking at hey, tell him is he there yet? And you're like, the way he's fucking with them. I mean, it is comedy, but it also feels Italian.
Yeah, no.
It feels like the mania of Italy, which we saw, in Cafe Express, the goofy way reality actually functions.
Mm-hmm. And so the whole last 20 minutes, almost bordering on a half hour.
Yeah, easily.
Is this gigantic action sequence where all of Jack Palance's men show up at the slaughterhouse and our three heroes, Harry Bear, Al Cliver, and then
Vittorio Caprioli.
Are waiting for them. And it's just one goddamn thing after another for the next half hour. Now, the sequence isn't perfect because you don't really know what's going on. If you had a little bit more of an idea of what their plan was, you'd be able to follow it more. If you had a little bit more of an idea where the bad guys are doing, as opposed to just running around like chickens with their head cut off.
There's a little bit of geographical chaos.
Nevertheless, that would make it stronger. But nevertheless, the action is fantastic.
Yeah, it's Friedkin.
It never stops. This slaughterhouse location is a magnificent location. I mean, like, you can't point the camera without getting a groovy shot because everything about it, but when the bricks and the metal girders, I mean, everything about it is fantastic.
And how, because it's a slaughterhouse, how there's kind of cage bars everywhere, so it calls to mind a prison.
Yeah.
And these are all criminals, and so there's all of that going on thematically.
And finally, there's this like fantastic cool little car. Al Cliver's on a motorcycle and he's being chased around this. It's just so exciting. It's just so much fun. I forgot how good that sequence was. And it is really terrific. That is a really, really cool sequence. Now, you brought up something about Jack Palance that I thought was really, really, really funny in this movie, because we've been really enjoying Jack Palance's performances. Now, he's very good in this movie, but as you pointed out, it looks like he was probably a pain in the ass on this film. I don't think he was swimming with the school. I think he was being problematic and they had to deal with it.
I've done programmers in other countries with actors who probably don't want to be doing the movie. And they show up. They're like, hey, you have to have a scar on your face. And he's like, no, I don't want a scar on my face, but it's called Mr. Scarface.
It's obvious.
Little one.
It's obvious Jack Palance was being contrarian to almost all the ideas that were probably written in the script. All right. So it's like,
I'm going to smoke my thing through every scene.
Yeah, no, okay. What he means is, the whole point about the idea is Palance spends the entire movie sucking on a cigarette holder. Whether it has a cigarette in it or not.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter. No, it's his actor's tool. Don't take away my actor's tool.
It's always in his mouth. He's decided that is the thing for the character, and that's the level of his investment, is the cigarette holder in his mouth constantly. His name is Scarface. He has the smallest scar on the just the little tiny part of his upper cheek to be called Scarface. It's obvious it was meant to be this giant scar, stitches.
And he doesn't want to sit in makeup all day.
He doesn't want that shit. I'm not going to let the fucking scar makeup thing do my performance for me. Yeah, so he breaks it down to be as little as it possibly can and still be called Scarface.
And I'm sure that was a negotiation and that it finally ended with 1 inch, no more than an inch. I'm sure that was the negotiation.
Nevertheless, you can't imagine the movie without Palance.
Well, Palance on an off, not even an off day, just on
I wouldn't call it off.
Palance just showing up is Palance. Well, he's still showing up.
He's still a professional.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. He's still Jack Palance.
He still fills the frame. And believe me, Fernando De Leo would not be afraid to bite his tongue about if he had a problem with an actor. And I don't think he had these were issues, I think, that came up, but I think he ultimately loved what Jack Palance did in the film. But then also there is just this aspect of like, he looks like the fittest old man I've ever seen in my life. He looks so good in his tailored suits. I mean, he looks like $1 million motherfucking dollars in these suits. You know, and this is one of those movies where, you know, he's trying to have the more grotesque face.
Yeah.
As opposed to, say, Cocaine Cowboys.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially that opening scene.
Yeah, especially the opening scene. But where as opposed to Cocaine Cowboys, where he's trying to look handsome. But nevertheless, he looks so good in that suit that even with him doing the grotesque face, he still fucking looks handsome.
Yeah.
Because he just looks like he fucking has it all, man.
He did a kind of miraculous thing in this movie, which is he's the bad guy. He's the mob boss. He's Mr. Scarface.
Yeah.
And by the end, in his final, we can call him in his final moments, I was on his side completely.
I kind of was too.
I know that I'm supposed to be on the side of
don't say who. Don't say who. Don't say
of
who.
Our heroes.
Yes, okay.
Of our two heroes. I know that I'm supposed to be on the side of our two heroes, but I felt sympathy for Jack Palance's situation.
I'm not applauding when Jack goes down in a hail of bullets. I'm not happy. I'm not applauding. I understand it has to happen.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. And it needed to happen, but I'm not. Yeah.
And he brings a kind of broken sympathy to the moment, like a kind of realization of the end, a kind of sadness. It's like a
you made a point earlier on when the older guy Victorio is fucking with him on the phone.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Palance never loses it in the movie.
Yeah.
He always keeps it under control. And which is not what you would expect from Palance. It's not what you expect from a mob boss in an Italian movie. It's not what you would expect from Jack Palance playing a mob boss, especially something called Mr. Scarface.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect him to be keeping his cool. But he manages to keep his cool enough. Your sympathy starts drifting towards him. Now he's being fucked with.
Yeah. And they're fucking with him pretty hard. And he actually, I think he goes to that exchange in good faith.
He completely goes
weaponless.
It's one of the things that actually
it makes it a little gray.
It's one of the things that makes the ending gray is he actually thinks it's a business deal and he's going down completely trusting the business deal.
And it almost feels like they cheated him in the end.
They did.
There's like 5 of him. There's one at the bottom, one at the top.
Right.
But like in all of these photos, notice how he doesn't have a scar on his face.
Well, it might be there. It's in the black.
Even it's like in the black. Like they've conveniently like smoothed over the box.
It's probably not a shot from this movie.
And also the title of this box is The Big Boss, not Mr. Scarface. So nobody felt compelled to sell that concept.
Yeah. And Quentin, will you read the tagline on the box?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I forgot to read that before. Okay, the tagline, while we did not like the plot description on the back, the tagline is terrific. He's the godfather of death, and he's giving out free samples.
Wow.
I love that tagline. That tagline's awesome.
Yeah, that is a good tagline.
And I just have to say, I really like the back of this box. Like not the description, but I love
I like the
images.
Pictures, yeah.
Like this panel of images, because the one on the bottom left is actually one of my favorite moments in the movie. This one with the bullet hole.
Yeah.
But I really like that part of the movie. No, Quentin, what does the inside of this box look like? Is there just a tape inside?
No, it's in a
like one of those plastic.
Yeah, it's in but it's like a big deal
like a tray,
a big deal plastic tray, actually.
Okay, wow, yeah, this is like a big deal
plastic.
Okay, obviously in the 2-hour mode.
I also like this how they did this design on the sticker on the VHS tape. How it's like they have the Mark V, but then the logo of the Big Boss is like blowing through their actual logo.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. And I like the idea that the hole in the O is a bullet hole. The holes in the B are bullet holes.
Yeah, so for me, this is like a plus on box design, because when you go online to buy a VHS tape of this on eBay, there are like 100 billion different VHS
versions.
Tapes.
Yeah.
There are so many different versions. Mine is a Good Times.
Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
You would have been better just watching it for free on YouTube.
Well, you guys are, I did actually watch it for free on YouTube. But I bought a Good Times one specifically because the box art, they have this really cool illustration of Jack Palance, like holding the gun and stuff.
Oh, okay. That's from the original Italian poster of Rulers of the City. Yeah.
Yes, because I noticed that like there's like 5 different companies that use that exact like art. But they like, some of it's more blurry than others.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the wrong color.
It's like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox.
Like a photo of a Xerox.
Yeah. But for those of you out there who are looking for the movie, if you look online, you're going to find it under Rulers of the City. But if you want to find it on YouTube, you have to look at Mr. Scarface. Because that kind of stumps me at first.
I found two complete.
Yeah, and I found one complete in pretty good quality for Mr. Scarface. So out of the 3 movies today, I was like really excited to watch this one just because the premise sounded so cool. And like Jack Palance as Mr. Scarface, it just sounded awesome. But to be honest, this movie kind of fell a little flat for me. I really liked the opening. Like I liked the kind of dreamlike sequence where you're not sure if someone's having a dream or if it's like a memory or if it's happening at the same time or like
nightmare,
a nightmare, like what is really going on. And I really liked that dune buggy, actually. I thought it was like a cool character piece. That like
it was
practically a character in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the 4th character amongst the group.
It was probably a very cool car to have in Italy at that time. It was a Puma, which was a kind of aftermarket kit car.
But it's funny, if you're a millennial and you grew up watching the Croft Super Show, it feels like you're watching the most violent episode of Wonderbug. Which sounds pretty good, frankly.
Yeah, actually, Sid and Marty Krofft with gangsters.
And I liked some of the gags in this movie. Like as I mentioned before, on the back of this box, they show like there's a gunshot to the head. Yeah. And I actually I found that really effective. Like when that happened, I was like, whoa. And I actually had to go back and like watch it again because it happened so suddenly for me. And
it was one of those things where I think that's a situation where you didn't realize you're kind of starting to like that character until they got killed.
Exactly.
They're like, holy shit, that guy?
Yeah. Him, of all people?
I was just starting to like him.
I like it when directors and writers are not afraid to do that, to like take away, like to build you up that character. I mean, don't like overdo it like Game of Thrones, where it's like
George R.R. Martin, that's all he does.
Yeah, but like when you take like 1 or 2 characters and like you build them up and then it happens, I mean, it's kind of sudden. And I enjoy that.
Oh, you're starting to love this character? Oh, I'm going to skin them alive.
Yeah.
Oh, you're starting to love this character. I'm going to take their genitals off in front of you.
And I don't want to come off as being like a Jack Palance hater, because I'm definitely not, because I realized like Cocaine Cowboys and Welcome to Blood City, I was kind of lukewarm on both of those. And so I want to come out and say it. I think Jack Palance is the best part of this movie. I think his performance is like really nuanced. What you guys said earlier about like at the end, you kind of feel bad for him. Like he's the hero, just like how Telly Savalas is like kind of the hero.
It's very similar.
Well, I wouldn't say he's the hero. Well, I'm not talking about Telly. I'm talking about Jack.
Yeah, I don't mean like he's the hero, but at the end, you kind of feel bad for him. Like he kind of is getting conned, and like, I don't know. I really liked his performance in this, and I felt it was compelling and believable. And I like that scene where he's on the phone. Yeah. And like he doesn't lose his cool.
Yeah.
Now, some of the gags were really cool. I mentioned the gunshot in the head, but can we talk about that action sequence at the very, very end? Because Roger mentions like him shooting through the bars, but there's like that whole motorcycle car chase sequence, which is like over the top.
Yeah.
Oh, completely.
Well, the thing that's so great about that sequence is, okay, so Al Cliver's been on the motorcycle for a couple of times in the course of the movie. And then there's a group of the bad guys are in this car that's just driving a seemingly 100 miles an hour all around the perimeter.
And it's like French Connection. I mean, they're driving through narrow doorways and skinny.
Well, that's for sure. But I'm talking about even before the chase itself happens. All right, they're driving around and they keep punctuating the action scenes by cutting to the camera in the backseat of that car. And it just acts as an accelerant to the rest of the action scene. But when finally Al Cliver shows up on the motorcycle, that car is now chasing Al Cliver. And then shots go on for a long, long time in this, and they're literally going through the narrowest doorways possible.
Yeah, it's like watching stunt driving in, I don't know, The Bourne Supremacy or something. That you're like these. No, it's actually
it's Remy Julian at his best.
You're right. You're right. It's Remy Julian. It's it's completely like Remy Julian style.
The greatest, one of his greatest sequences of all time, DeLeo, is the car chase that happens in the middle of the Italian Connection. That anyone who's ever seen it, considers it one of the greatest car chases of all time, and that's absolutely a Remy Julien chase. DeLeo has given him credit for.
Yeah, because my favorite part of the entire chase is actually that brick ramp that like they go up and like the car goes up on the brick ramp and then just like kind of crashes and like.
Well, no, not only that. When Roger saw it, he goes, "Oh my God, that one that looks like a real crash, and it looks like those guys got really fucked up."
Yeah.
I mean, watching that car like kind of pearl and just land nosedive into like a metal pile of bricks or something.
So it's a metal gate.
Yeah, a metal gate off of the pile of bricks onto like a metal gate.
I mean,
but metal gate made out of pipes.
I saw, now, unless they're staging some kind of crazy auto jump or something, what I saw in my eye was the driver slamming against the dash and the steering wheel. Well, it looked like
well, if you look at the movie though, the driver doesn't get out. It looks like the driver got wiped out.
Yeah.
All right. It's only the guy in the passenger seat that crawls out of the car.
Barely crawls out.
And then gets shot down.
Yeah, but I loved like the dynamic nature of the ending sequence. I felt like it really pumped back up the movie.
Yeah.
And I really liked all the explosions. I mean, what can I say?
Oh, the car explosions in this are
pretty
first rate. First rate car explosions. Like when they're in fact when
well, the cars just go off like a bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like when that Enzo guy blows up the that one car when he throws like he lights it on fire. That's what he lights a fuse and lights it on fire and when that car, like, it goes over and there's like a little fire next to it, and I was like, oh, they wimped out. Like, they're not actually going to blow up the car. He's leaving, and it's just kind of a little brush fire around the bottom of it. And then suddenly it just freaking blew up, and it was like, Jesus Christ! It's like it was like a crazy ass explosion. And then it was like burning like
burning like out of control.
I've only seen that in the Friedkin sequences in Jerusalem after that bomb goes off. It was a real bomb going off and he caught a car burning.
Well, as I said earlier, I bought my VHS tape on Good Time, which you probably shouldn't buy Good Time tape unless you have to, but I liked the box art and I liked the design of it for $2.49. I watched it on YouTube. The quality's pretty good. And to be honest, I actually watched like Sonny and Jed, and then I took a 10-minute break, and then I watched Mr. Scarface.
Boy, so you were just...
I was like going through them.
You were freebasing.
You were double fisting Italian.
Just another Sunday for me. But I mean, I'm like watching it, and to be honest, I'm going, Sonny. Sonny.
So you were still...
So I was like still riding that high, and so it's hard not for me to like compare like Corbucci.
Listen. In fairness, I had the same arc because Quentin showed me.
Wait, it wasn't 10 minutes, but it wasn't much more.
Yeah, it was. We had maybe half an hour in between. Maybe 20 minutes.
More closer to 20. Yeah.
And then we jumped right into Mr. Scarface,
and then it had that opening great scene, so we were there.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think I was just still singing Sonny for it. So
well, I'm still singing Sonny.
Yeah, I'm still singing Sonny too.
Yeah.
But I mean, by the end of Mr. Scarface, I wanted to see the sequel in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still want to see it. Also, by the way, when you're talking about his fighting and that he's like, it's kind of like dancing, it's capoeira.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
he's doing Brazilian capoeira.
You know what?
I think it's a crazy movie, Italian Hollywood Italian movie version of capoeira.
But that actually kind of makes sense. And actually, I should ask our friend Mark Dacascos, our mutual friend Mark Dacascos, because he's the capoeira expert.
Okay. The only move he does that was impressive, that was sort of like pre-Jackie Chan kind of thing, is when he runs up the guy.
That was
when he runs up his chest and then kicks him with the other foot in the face.
That was definitely the coolest moment.
That was actually the best moment. Yeah.
But it's like, imagine him doing capoeira because he loves Brazil, and it's like, I'm trying to do capoeira. I'm trying to do this whole like Brazilian thing.
Okay, it just comes across as crazy Terrence Hill. Yeah. All right. Weird Italian martial arts.
It's you know what,
weird Italian martial arts while you're wearing Sergio Valente tight pants.
It's true.
And a Brazil shirt.
Brazil shirt.
But I do agree. That may have been capoeira by somebody who's never actually seen capoeira.
Italian capoeira.
Like, hey, my character's into Brazil. Well, you should do capoeira. Okay, what's that? Well, it's like a dance, but it's kung fu.
Yeah.
It's like martial arts, but a dance. And without ever actually seeing it, that is like his interpretation of it, maybe.